Dr. Jaffe, can you share the antigen selection process, how it's purified, and how much antigen is used in each well of the microtiter plates? And of course, these questions are all regarding the LRA by ELISA Act test.
Yes, in regard to the LRA tests, we do purify all of our antigens ourselves. Partly we do that because we're biochemists, partly we do that because the commercially available antigens have two real negatives. They have two real deficits. First of all, they tend to be contaminated with spores that are in the air when these antigens are made commercially. You want to get rid of something that's not what you're testing. The next problem is the antigens tend to be very high molecular weight. High molecular weight means not readily soluble. So when we're tolerant to foreign substances, the body can recycle them and process them easily as part of the task or job of the innate immune defense and repair system. And on the other hand, when your innate immune system is overwhelmed with digestive remnants that come in because of maldigestion, dysbiosis, enteropathy, leakiness of the intestinal wall, etc., lack of repair, what we call inflammation, but it's really repair deficit. All of this creates the problem. The ability of the body to restore tolerance is based on accurately detecting the full burden on the immune defense and repair system. And so back in the early 80s, we accepted the responsibility of purifying every antigen. Now, how do we do that? We put the antigen into a volatile buffer, something that we made up, which easily goes off in the air, is safe for the environment, and leaves behind whatever it is that we have filtered, because we have a filtration step that takes the gloppy stuff, the large molecular weight goopy stuff, away. It also has the benefit of removing any of these spores or foreign objects that get into the material before we purify it. And then I think the other question was, how much antigen is there in each microtiter well? So we did have to create a unique incubation environment, a piece of plastic that has many little wells or dishes in it, and that allows for the first time an antigen presenting cell to breathe, to wiggle over to the lymphocyte, and then a half an hour later at body temperature, the lymphocyte lights up if it recognizes this as a foreign substance. It's called the MHC locus, major histocompatibility locus. On the lymphocyte needs to have the antigen, the foreign substance, presented to it by an antigen presenting cell. Now, with regard to each different substance, we actually calibrate each item, and it may be a fraction of a microgram, it may be a few micrograms, it may be more than a few micrograms. Each substance has its own sweet spot to detect tolerance and intolerance. And when we validate any of the items that we're testing for, we make sure that we're in the sweet spot for that specific antigen. Part of that has to do with the average number of Daltons, which is a unit of biochemical size. Part of that has to do with the way in which we coat the microtiter plate so that it's uniform and does not have all the antigens sitting in a big lump in the middle, which is all too common in other test systems. So there's lots of details that go into purifying and preparing the microtiter plates, and then accurately reading them, which is the art of the test, and where over the many years we have shown remarkable consistency, remarkable reproducibility in a field that is not known for reproducibility. Immune assays are notoriously variable. 15 to 20% is about as good as most ELISA tests can do. And the way we achieve less than 3% variance is by having the first one step amplified or ELISA procedure, known as ELISA ACT. We brought together enzyme amplification, ELISA, with advanced cell technique, ACT, hence the name, ELISA ACT. And that uniqueness is what allows us to measure all the delayed pathways, the B cell dependent harmful antibodies, not to be confused with the helpful antibodies, the immune complexes and the T cell responses. Non-antibody based T cell responses are more important in autoimmunity, in repair deficit inflammation, in self-attacking situations, even than the B cell dependent antibodies. So we wanted a functional ex vivo assay that would detect the harmful complement fixing antibodies, but not be confused by the neutralizing beneficial antibodies, would pick up immune complexes, and would measure T cell responses directly. And that's what we do by purifying the antigens and knowing how to coat this unique microtiter plate, so that when we bring the cells back to body temperature in a few hours, they react in our laboratory just as they would react in the body. That's why it's an ex vivo assay and why we're proud to deliver.